3, 2, 1. Morning guys, it's Luke Marshall here, and ordinarily on Fridays and Saturdays, Thursdays or Fridays, I do like a weekly video in my head. It's like Thursday theory, and I've got that scheduled and the intentions there, and I record a video explaining digital marketing concepts, frameworks, ways of thinking that are generally helpful to both my LinkedIn connections and then broader connections and both existing clients and prospective clients. That's the thinking. I enjoy doing them, and I also enjoy putting together the slides. I love building a deck. And you might notice this morning there isn't a deck. Where is it? It's not there. I don't think it's down there, and it's not here. But that's intentional, fortunately. I realized this morning that it's about halfway through the year. Where are we? 9th of July. And I've really enjoyed making these videos and recording them, particularly with the slides. Like I said, I do enjoy a deck. But because it's halfway through the year, and because I'm looking forward to a holiday next week, I actually wanted to get a bit real and touch in with people who watch this anyway. I'm really looking forward to my break. I'm looking forward to a week off, closing the laptop and recharging. No one could have predicted at the start of the year what was going to happen. It's a black swan event. Not in your wildest dreams would you think, everything cancelled, even footy. Like that, for a Melburnian, that's just unfathomable. Anyway, a really important thing around all of this is mental health. It's an issue very close to my heart. I've had my own experiences with mental health growing up and in adolescence, and going through that and the subsequent recovery period, which is very long. It gives me, a lot of solace that when something like this happens, that good things can happen too. And I now have tools, awareness, and the support network around me to help protect that. And protecting that is number one. Health, your own health and mental health is number one. I think it's fair to say at the end of last year, I was pretty burnt out. I was leaving an exec role from an employer that I loved working with. I really enjoyed the team. They're young, vibrant, and the exec team are great. Can't really fault them or their approach and their own challenges and the way they attack them. What was evident towards the end of my tenure there was that it wasn't the right fit for me. I had lost some enthusiasm, and I own that. That's on me. And even though the separation from that role and team was a bit prickly, I own that. It's a good learning. And it's actually funny with the conversation at the end of that journey. The boss, the CEO is like, "Hey, Marshy, I think you want to work for yourself." And he knew it better than I did at the time. It was very true. And even though I didn't know how to figure that out, I took that advice to heart. So thank you, Troy. Anyway, then I had to sort of figure it out. Like end of the last year, it was like mid-December. I had like a crisis meeting with my coach at the time. Thank you, Marcus. And travelled a train trip to Geelong, because that's where he was, and we were doing video sessions before then. But I knew I needed to hash this shit out face to face, and I did. And we workshopped what was going on, what repetitive patterns there were, and he whiteboarded some gold. That was I've still got the screen grabs of the photos from what was whiteboarded. I'm more predictable than I think. Anyway, so end of last year, I'm like, what do I do? My wife's like, what are you doing? You keep moving jobs. And I'm just trying to figure, career out on what was going on. And there were other things going on too. Anyway, so by Christmas Eve, I was booked to the end of April, which is great. Amazing work, marshy. And it's trading days and doing good work and getting good feedback. And then, as the year progressed, got clearer on what I wanted. I got clearer about my goals. The period between Christmas and New Year's Day, normally I do like a retrospective and writing. I love writing. But I went about it a bit differently and plotted some goals and thought, all right, let's roll the dice and do this. And so that was the start of the year. And what a 6 months it's been. From a career perspective, it couldn't have gone much better from where I was in December. So thank you to the clients that have worked with me. There's been some lessons learned along the way in terms of the value I can bring, how to position myself, and you guys were on the journey with me. I really appreciate GRC Solutions, GippsTech, known as Startup Gippsland as well. Academy XI is great to work with you briefly, and RMIT University, the RMIT Activator team. Oh my goodness, you guys are incredible. I almost cried. Well, I teared up for sure. And when I rapped with them a couple of weeks ago, there was a hype board, like the kudos board, and 18 people just saying ridiculously nice things about what it was like to work with me. And that's really special. The team's really special. Higher education's going through all sorts of hoo-ha at the moment, but that team and their intention it's where the magic is. And if any team is going to help a university out of some of the challenges they're up against, it's going to be RMIT Activator. So to Matt Salia, Julie Stevens, Jennifer Jing, and the rest of the team, thank you so much for the chance to work with you. And I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunities it brought in, both professionally but also personally. It helped me get clear about what I want to do. So thank you. Coming back to the mental health stuff, I'm very cognizant of it. And the pandemic, there's an invisible one coming. It'll be a flatter curve. It'll be more insidious and harder to spot. And that's terrifying. But it's also the impact of things like social isolation, marginalized groups who are already at risk, becoming more at risk. And the start of the year, I was like, what do I give a fuck about? What actually fires me up so much that I get angry and energetic and upset just thinking about it? And you can even see in my video just now, like, it really grinds my gears. And I'm a marketer, an advertiser. What could I possibly do in the mental health space? And I've been, wrapping my mind around it. I've been entertaining that pickle and cooking my noodle on it and trying to work out what impact it looks like in that space to someone with my skill set. And it's not an overnight thing. I honestly give a fuck about mental health. I think it's a very rich and important area of people's lives that is underappreciated and undervalued. And so one of the goals I wrote at the start of the year was my true north, which is to help a mental health cause with impact. And near the start of the year, I started taking steps towards pursuing that. And I made a commitment to myself that whatever it looks like, it's a 10-year bet. I don't know the how, and I'm not too caught up on the how. I'm just like, what does committing 10 years look like to something that I really give a fuck about, which is mental health? And so early steps are in play. I joined a global mental health community called What If Ventures. It's a VC fund for mental health startups. We've started a small group of 10 or 12 like-minded individuals that have different backgrounds. We've got ex-big consulting, we've got product designers, we've got a doctor in there, we've got a counsellor on the ground. We've got really smart people in this group, probably 10 or so people, just a messenger group, and it's called Mental Health Nerds, and we just swap notes. We swap lots of notes, and the conversation ebbs and flows, and we're just, really pumped about what we're all sort of pursuing with ambition, and, who knows what that looks like in the future or how we can help each other. And it's nice, so having that there. I caught up with a VC in Australia. StartMate is an excellent program, one of the highest regarded accelerator programs out there. And they've got this thing called StartMate office hours for, people kicking around an idea or at different stages, but probably don't have ordinary access to that level of expertise. And so, I met with a guy called James Tynan, and he's done some stuff in health tech. He's got wins on the board in that space. And I took him through my approach. And when I started recording this video, I didn't think I'd talk through this approach, but here we are. It is a 10-year bet, and I don't know what the end looks like with this 10-year bet. I just know I need to help this cause. And I'm not wedded or invested in detail, like is it a tech company? Is it a not-for-profit? Is it something creative? Where is it on the continuum? I don't have the answers to those questions, but I did register the URL wellnesswithimpact.com, and that makes my heart sing. And there's nothing in it at the moment. There's barely a page, but I know if I take a systematic approach with probably 5 hours a week at the start, and systematically take 3 to 5 approaches that are varied monthly towards that goal of helping mental health with impact. There's going to be a lot of things that don't work, but I'll get traction eventually. It might be a creative idea. It might be a tech idea. I've got some hunches at the moment, but I'm not wedded to any of them. If I just systematically attack anything that, it can't take longer than a week. I learned that from Naval Ravikant, a guy from Silicon Valley. And just take 3 to 5 approaches, no longer than a week, and just punch them out, record what I'm doing, what I've learned, repeat. It's a system. It's not a strategy or a goal. It's a system, a systematic process of just doing that. I know it's going to be a force of nature. It's inevitable that impact will eventually come. And that's the idea. I talked through some of the initiatives earlier, and look, that's really exciting. And so James had some good points. It was like, you need some sort of faster time horizon ones and some slower ones, and don't get caught up in the theory or talking about it. Just do, and get focused on traction, and don't get caught up in the how. And it was all great advice. So thank you, James. So that's what I'm going to do and work towards over 10 years. And it lights me up, but I also need to pay bills. So you may notice from my videos that I'm pretty heavy in the digital marketing game, and I'm enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it. So I want to keep doing that and find a way to pivot into wellness with impact. So that's going through my mind. The other thing that I just want to sort of circle back to is mental health personally. Like I said, I had experiences in adolescence that were really hard. And about 8-9 years ago, I wrote a book about it. Some people know, some people don't. I sold about 100 copies. It was a memoir. Who self-publishes a memoir at age 28, I think I was? Yeah. Me. I did. And it's called Being Bye-Bye. And it talks to my experiences with bipolar and bisexuality, yeah, in a really personal way, and walks through what it's like to find your identity and go through severe psychosis. Like, it was a clusterfuck at age 20. Anyway, that was one of the things that has lit me up the most. And if I look back on my last 10 years of life, and I wrote that while I was at Google. And late last year, I was fortunate enough to be invited to talk with Jobs Victoria around mental health and my experiences with it in the workplace. And I got that same lit up feeling that I got with the book, and just being able to help people with what I've learned and with confidence, which I'm an absolute anomaly. Like spoiler alert is in the book, but 3 months in a forensic hospital, psychosis. I was arrested, like recovering from something like that. It's really hard. You got to learn to function again, learn to walk again, learn to talk again, how to interact with humans. And I did it. I did it beyond my wildest dreams and expectations. And I'm really proud of that. And it's been a huge and long journey with multiple lessons along the way. And yeah, I led with work, but honestly, the biggest thing that happened end of last year was after, I think it was about 12 years ago, I finally got on a medication. It might have been like 13 years. Anyway, finally got on a medication that worked for my bipolar disorder. It was called Abilify. And I started on 30 milligrams about 6 months before starting my career. And it was a game changer. No question. It was finally the right medicine combination to help me function and get through life as a human being and as someone with bipolar disorder. And I can't fault it. It was a really good medication for me. Over the years, I learned how to live with it and tapered down the dose. And I had a pretty funny experience in Singapore because they don't have pharmaceutical benefits scheme. And oh God, I just went over there and assumed they did naively. And when I got the bill for my medicine, it was like, I think it was $4,000 or $5,000 Australian. I'm like, what the hell? And so it was cheaper for me to fly back to Australia and get it through Medicare than to stay in Singapore, which was a lesson. One of the many lessons I learned. Anyway, fast forwarding to late last year. It was around August last year, I was speaking to my psychologist, and one of the later things that sort of helped with my recovery was psychology and therapy, because it was a bridge I hadn't crossed until a few years ago. And despite all the benefits that psychiatric medicine can bring and also help with, there's also fallbacks. There's other stuff to work through, and therapy really helped me with that in ways that it was a breakthrough. Like, I remember being in a room with my therapist, and it was like Inception, like the walls caving in and my mind being blown open, and these patterns and things going on that I wasn't aware of or I was blind to, and I can't rave about it enough. Anyway, so I was talking to my doctor back in July, August, and we suspected that Abilify, the medication I was on, was no longer serving me. And that's a pretty big call. I've hinted at it in this video, but oh God, like for anyone long-term, mental health on a medicine, rule number 1 is to take your medication. Do you know the number 1 cause for lapses in mental health for someone on medication is not taking the medication? That was drilled into me. So the concept of getting off Abilify was terrifying. But there was a suspicion that it was the right call. So August, I think it was, we started tapering really slowly, and in consultation with my mum, my wife, who I love so much, she's a rock, and my GP, my psychologist, and my psychiatrist, and we locked that shit down. You do not tell people when you have been on medication your whole adult life that you're going off it. You shut the fuck up. And I did. And I could cry because there was so much fear about going back to what I was terrified of. You know, the experience that I had with my bipolar diagnosis, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. And so little Luke was terrified of going back to that world. And I had to work through that fear. And I did. I chipped away at it. I checked in with my wife. I checked in with my therapist. I checked in with my doctors. And by October, I'd tape it off completely. So I was on 5 milligrams of Abilify at the start, and by then I'd tape it off completely, which I also shut the fuck up about because you don't want to call it too soon. And it's really, really fucking hard to articulate the difference it made. But I'll try. My fear, my whole adult life I'd been medicated, and my fear was that I'd revert, I'd go manic, shit would go wrong. And do you know what happened? There was this overriding, prevailing sense of calmness that was not there before. And I'm a somewhat spiritual person, but it was a gift from the heavens. It wasn't fear. It was, I don't have to live like I used to. I felt more normal again. And even more so, pre my diagnosis, I used to harken back to those years as my best years. I sailed through high school, sailed through uni, got into a law degree, and then it came spectacularly undone. And the best is yet to come. As time's gone on, it's consistently just been more relaxing, more calm. My cognitive ability, my sense of focus, it's all infinitely better in ways that are very hard to explain or even talk about in a job interview, all that crap. Anyway, so I've shared all that, and it's exciting to be well, to have like a 10-year goal that I've created, and it's concrete, and goals need to be smart and measurable, and with wellness with impact, regardless of the how. The measure is, in Australia we have, and the stats are so woolly because some's reported, some's not reported, but on average 8 Australians end their lives each day. And so a true north for me with wellness with impact, or whatever the final end outcome is in 10 years time, that number will be as close as it can be to 0. And that's success for me. Whew. So yeah, I actually recorded this wanting to just share a mid-year update, and here we are. I think I will share it. I'll have a look at it and yeah, share it a bit later today. But look after yourselves. Mental health is so important, and while we've got a pandemic, the invisible second pandemic will be that mental health knock-on effect, and I'm seeing it already. So please look after yourselves, take care. I'm recharging next week with my holiday, and I wish you all the best. If you've listened this far, thank you.